Hi, I'm Dimitri Metzeltin and I have here the Mackie ONYX 12 from the Mackie ONYX series. We also have an ONYX 8 with 8 inputs, we have an ONYX 16 and an ONYX 24 as well in the series. And we will take a closer look today at the ONYX 12. So the ONYX series are analog mixers with a USB audio interface built inside. And this means that I can record separate tracks of all the channels into a PC or into a Mac, and it doesn't matter which software you're using. You can use the software bundles that we include with this, which are a Pro Tools bundle with 23 additional plugins, or the waveform bundle with 16 additional plugins, but you can use this also with any other software that runs on Windows or Mac OS. As the name already says, the ONYX mixer has ONYX microphone preamps. So these are our renowned preamps with up to 60 dB of gain. This means that you can connect any kind of microphone to an ONYX mixer. We always have enough gain reserves here for that. And right after the gain stage, we have the low cut filter on all the channels. And the recording then goes directly after the preamps. So this means when you're recording this on separate tracks, you won't record the EQ or other things like the effects. You're recording directly after the gain stage. Next here on the channel is our high Z switch. So we can turn on high Z to connect instruments like electric guitars, for example, or basses directly to an ONYX mixer, and we have 2 of them, so that's really handy. Next here is our Perkins EQ, developed by Perkins, with a typical sound of the analog mixers from the UK from the 60s and 70s. It's a 3-band EQ with sweepable mids, and the nice thing here also is that we have a hard bypass switch for the EQ if I want to turn it off completely. Also, the color coding is really nice, as even in bad lighting conditions I still can see what I'm doing. So the blue knobs here are for the EQs and the green knobs are for the 2 monitor paths that we have. And on the back side we have 2 balanced monitor outputs, so it's all balanced always with Mackie. And to have the optimal sound here also on the monitor outs. The next knob here is orange, and this goes to the internal effects. We also have this as an external output if you want to use an external effect, for example, but you can use this here with our internal effects. And we have here a DSP effect section, so we have an analog desk but with a digital effect section here. And this is really special because it's not like other compact analog desks where you have 20 different presets, for example, that you can recall. Here we have different effects, and you always have the 3 most important parameters to adjust. So for example, I just recall the delay, and I can adjust the delay time, the feedback amount, and also add a high cut filter. It doesn't stop there. If I move over here, I can select the EQ for the effect. So we have a little 3-band EQ for the effects as well. So I can add, for example, a high pass if I add a reverb, or dampen the high frequencies a little bit on the reverb. So that's all possible here with our effect section. And on top of that, we also can save up to 6 presets. So you can have your favorite presets right here in your ONYX mixer. Next to this we see a little button called SD for the SD card recording. So not only can we record into a PC or a Mac, we also can record directly onto an SD card in stereo with 96K and 24-bit as well. So this also goes for the USB multitrack recording. So with the stereo recording on the SD card, it works quite simple. We just hit the record button here and it starts recording right away. As soon as I hit the record button again, it will just record the next track. So let's say maybe the band is playing a couple of songs right one after the other, and you want still to have separate tracks there, you just hit the record button again and it just starts recording a new track there. So that's really useful as well. Okay, let's go back to the channel. We see we have the panning down here. We have our mute and solo buttons right here. And again here, even in bad lighting conditions, we have this background light here on these buttons, which makes it really easy to see if a channel is muted or if a channel is on solo. And about solo, there are a couple of interesting things here. Not only do we have this backlight here, we also have an LED that starts blinking as soon as we activate the solo. And we can switch the solo between after fade and pre-fade listening as well. So I can say, okay, I want to hear the signal after the fader or just before the fader. So that would be the typical setting here. Okay, then we have the faders. We can send all the signals to the mains right here. We have also two main faders for the monitor outputs and an effect return fader right here. With the main fader, there's also a special thing right here. You see there is a send switch here, and not a sandwich, a send switch. And it says right next to it 13, 14 or 1 and 2. And this means that I can record not only 12 separated tracks into Pro Tools or any other software, I can record additionally a stereo track, for example, of the whole mix. So let's say maybe you're mixing live and you want to have a recording of the live band, how it is playing in that moment. You can just record that as well. If I hit this send switch here, then we have the signal going to output 1 and 2, which means that I then would record everything on USB 1 and 2 into the computer. This is really useful if you're using this mixer, for example, for podcasting or streaming with Zoom or OBS or any other software. So you can, as I said, you can use this for podcasting as well. You can use this in the studio as your audio interface and mixer, and you can use the ONYX mixers also for live. Well, it's called ONYX 12, but actually we have 2 additional channels. So there are 14 channels, very much like on the ONYX 16 as well. Actually, the ONYX 16 has 18 inputs in total. And one of the reasons to have that is that we have here an extra channel for our Bluetooth input. So let's say that you're mixing live, the band is taking a break, and you want to take a break as well. You then just hit the Bluetooth switch here. You have your smartphone connected to the ONYX mixer and you can play back music without leaving your smartphone right next to the mixer while you're getting some drinks, for example. So that's really useful there. We also have a stereo mini jack input for playbacks and also on the back side 2 additional line inputs also for playbacks, but this could also be used as an additional input for keyboards, for example. Okay, so as I said, you can record with this mixer up to 14 tracks into a computer. And what about listening to what you recorded? So we have 2 stereo returns, USB 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, going into these channels here. And the very special thing, what I really like about this mixer is that you don't lose your analog inputs if you want to listen back to what's coming from Pro Tools or from your DAW. So this means the analog inputs are still there, are still active, while you're listening back to the playback here. And it's also nice to have 2 paths here. This means that I can set up a mix for myself as a technician and a separate mix, for example, for the singer in the recording room. The same thing happens when you want to listen to what's on the SD card. We have a switch here to listen to what's on the SD card, but still you won't lose these input channels here for your recordings. A couple of smaller things in the end. We also have control room outs separate from the main outs with its own control here. Again, it's balanced. We also have a phones output here and phantom power for the whole mixing desk right here. So this is the Mackie ONYX 12 from the ONYX series. You can use them for live, for the studio, for streaming, for podcasting as well. And I just would say thanks for watching.